Ngakula has to be subpoenaed to the wanted to explain it. They want to test her side of the story during the hearings. The EFF legal team has given Parliament until the close of business tomorrow to indicate whether Mapisa hearing starts next. They await the Assembly's decision on sanctions against Malema and 5 other MPs for the Sona
from Belleville in Cape imprisonment. Kylie Wright, Cape High Prosecution Authority says Reiter was also years in imprisonment for violating false Chenk's corpse and 5 years in prison. She suspected in Lotlakane near Brits in the northwest. It is believed that 30 spokespersons
and we from the full position of machinery. They were remanded in custody until today.
And 400 Zimbabwe. The Border Management Authority (BMA) to extend its operating hours at its busiest border operation at the border. The unaccompanied children were returned to Zimbabwe. The MBA Commissioner Michael Masiapado says authorities will be deployed to selected points of entry.
Well, some of our busiest posts already operate on a 24 first request on other certain immediate to extend the operating hours.
And rescue teams in active volcano to the air yesterday. The BBC's
video footage smoke spreading widely across the sky with cars and roads covered with ash. The authorities imposed the second highest alert level and prohibited residents. The head of the headlines, he said the 3 people rescued were weak and had suffered burns. Some 49 climbers were evacuated from the area earlier today.
National Court's Justice Nonkosi Mhlandla has dismissed the application of One South Africa and the Independent Candidates Association to approach the court at the
FM 104 to 107 nationwide.
Africa Best African outfit say they long to South Africa to have all the 3 points. All roads lead. Available. SA
and the ICASA Act of 2005. Quantities by Parliament erected to hand The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Must have been about 3 in front of me. So wish she could wait. Cinnamon queen. What did she say? She said she loved to. Before on Sunday, I met this girl on my. On Sunday, 9. Let's flip. Oh, man, Lord, we to play. I'm saying it's really to be. And all the love just Sunday. And Saturday we chill on Sunday. Break it down. Break it down. Since I met this special. Ooh, yeah. One of a kind. And I ain't about nothing. It's a special kind of. Before I drink cold. Love by Wednesday and on Friday. Don't you? Friday, Saturday.
Abrupt glitch actually came in the way of Craig David 7 let's switch off the music. Just decided to disrupt things a little bit. What a fine Monday afternoon it is, though. I hope that the weather is behaving today. You have a great week. The festive season. Excitement, I think we're all ready to kind of wind things down a little bit. And I'm told, I don't know, I rely on external information. And Guardians, no more acting Uber and shuttling people back and forth. But you are going to have your life and your days back to yourself. I don't know. Beautiful thing to see. And then also, we've got a new online escrow financial assistance, particularly for mental health in 410-407. That is our WhatsApp line. If you'd like to send us a WhatsApp voice note, if you'd like to share with us your thoughts on any of our conversations, or of course just let us know how your day is going, how you've entered this particular new week. You are more than welcome to just touch base on the generalness of life. That's our WhatsApp number on 0614104107. Alternatively 086 That is our live call-in number. And of course you can always find us on social media. We are on X, formerly known as Twitter, at SAFM Radio, and at Bridget Masinga. The Full Circle on SAFM.
You're listening to Bridget Masinga.
Yeah, telecom and to broadcasting that a job well done indeed. It's always a beautiful night. Partner violence, which is a real and this initiative of language campaign. Let's take a quick break here and then come back.
Champion. Join us. Pro
with the of intimate partners, always a horrifying statistics that needs real decisive action. And I think, of course, all of us plugging in from our various arenas and sectors of life. Good afternoon to you. How are you doing, Sidwell?
Good afternoon to you, Bridget, and good afternoon to your listeners. Thank you so much for having me.
It's only a pleasure. It's always a horrifying statistic when we talk sort of the domestic violence in the intimate partner violence, and it seems like something that we really just are not getting a handle.
You know, very disturbing. They are very disturbing. Perhaps we should ensure that we do. I want to make it that we need to think about it. Ensure that all of us play our part in addressing issues of intimate. From us within the work that we do, that we are talking about. You know, and this is the, you know, and the global the violence. They are experiencing and sexual violence by their intimate partner. It makes us be of a woman or a child when it's experiencing issues of physical and sexual violence by an intimate partner. Mm-hmm. You know, it's experiencing. And we really, you know, realize the need for we engage young people, you know, in high learning institutions. You know, that I do not love project. It's a project that focuses on, you know, dealing with behavioral issues. You know, we are trying to ensure that we give, you know, people information around, you know, issues of gender-based violence, and also to speak more around healthy relationship. What are those forms of abuse that oftentimes we might be experiencing them, and what are those some of the, you know, early warning signs? Some and I think by now, you know, globally, when you look at this particular project, this is students that have been trained under each particular project. In South Africa, we've launched this project.
If I may just interject quickly, Sidwell, before we get into the project, because you've actually just, you know, highlighted a perspective that I think maybe in our conversations around, you know, physical and sexual violence is also engaging the conversation from the, you know, you bring up engaging the conversation, empowering particularly this demographic of young women and men, but also I think speaking to what is a healthy relationship. You know, what are the signs or what are the traits that one should foster in a healthy relationship? I think to a very large degree, sometimes that's a part of the conversation that we're not indulging, not focused enough of, because presume that in order to change a behavior, besides recognizing a negative and a bad trait, you'd also need to say something to bring up something there that I think is missing in this conversation. Perhaps speaking to what is a healthy relationship and what are some of those things that we should be building and focusing on when it comes to, I guess, building young people in a positive manner within the context of
happening that defines a healthy relationship. But at the same time, when you look at the 9 warning signs that we've developed, you would normally say a healthy relationship is a relationship that people are not actually experiencing these warning signs that are there. You are in a relationship where you have been treated equally. You are not going to be manipulated in those relationships. You are not going to be blackmailed, in that particular relationship. You are not going to be someone is not going to tell you what to wear, where to go, how to look, what time you must be home. But you're going to respect that, and your opinion is very important. And people in that relationship or your partner in your relationship is able to respect your opinion. But the third part around this, and I think it's also important, Bridget, it's for us to also, highlight that, these are some of the things that are being put in the majority of men who have been raised in different societies that are perpetuating issues of intimate partner violence because of how they've been raised. Because they've been raised in families, they've been raised in a community where the issue of manipulation, the issue of intrusion, where one so they need to go through your phone, to go through your private messages without your consent. Those are the things that society deems them as normal, and they've been normalized in a number of relationships. And these are the certain things that we regard them as warning signs, and they are the things that within the 9 warning signs that we have identified, that we are raising awareness when we young people in different spaces, saying, be aware of these particular warning signs. And this speaks to, what we regard as a healthy relationship. If you are in a relationship where you are not experiencing any form of abuse, you are not experiencing one of these particular, warning signs, your opinion has been listened and it's been, recognized. Someone going to take advantage. You are in a relationship with someone who literally, allows you to be yourself. You fall in love with someone who would accept you the way you are. Those are the things that we have in relationships. You are not going to be changed for you to do things where you would feel that you have been controlled. Yes, we know in a relationship along the line you would end up or you reach a point where you stop doing certain things. But that should come from you. That should come from you perhaps realizing that I'm in a space where perhaps I'm comfortable to shift certain things. Unlike you being controlled, because issues of intimate partner violence, Bridget, one of the things that are contributory factors, that is power and control. If one in your relationship, practice power and control, that's where these warning signs will take place most of the time. You'll be able to see where one will manipulate you, will control you, will humiliate you, will portray jealousy in that particular relationship. Will go through your personal stuff without concern. The intrusion that is very important.
Yeah.
Hence, we are raising and saying when we engage with them, we are trying to raise and make them to be aware of what perhaps might have contributed for them to behave that fashion. What are the contributory factors of people to be abusive in their relationships?
Let's talk a little bit. So we are in conversation with the project manager at ADAPT, and as part of your factors that perpetuate violence against women and children, you've obviously identified the 9 signs that you've alluded to and that we've spoken about a little bit, but you've also partnered with Why Is Not Allowed. Tell me a little bit about this.
Well, Well, we strongly believe in collaboration, and I think credit should be given to YSL Beauty.
Yeah.
For starting this particular program. Remember earlier on, I said this program has been implemented across 37 countries.
Yeah.
And our aim is to ensure that we engage more than 2 million young people around issues. So we collaborated. We've launched this project in South Africa. That was last year, 2022, during 16 days of exposure. And till date, we have managed to reach more than 2,500 young people who have been trained around the curriculum that we are using, that literally focuses on addressing forms, what are the warning signs, and what are the things that individually we can do to ensure that we address issues of intimacy. To ensure that we reach young people. And we are quite excited because, while we are doing the implementation on the ground, engaging with students, we are able to also realize the impact of the project, where we are able to ensure that we refer some of young people who are experiencing these issues. Which of the perpetrators of issues of intimate partner violence, Bridget, it's young boys, it's men. They are able to come forward and say, I've realized that I've been very manipulative, towards my girlfriend. And she's been telling me that I'm manipulative, and now I think I need help for me to be in a space where I unlearn these negative behaviors that I'm putting in place or that I'm putting them in my relationship. We then are able to, we introduce the likes of psychosocial. So that will be able to intervene to have session with those individuals to help them to unlearn these negative traits. Because especially us as men, we really need to ensure that we normalize therapy. We are able to ensure that we go and deal with the demons that the society perhaps gave us, or create an environment where abuse was normalized. The issue of power control was given to us as boys or as men. That we must be in control if we're in a relationship. We must determine, we must dictate what needs to be done and how. We were raised, or we are still being raised in an environment where the boys are being right, where boys being taught that you do aggression. We've been raised in those environments where engagement, where young boys would see that they've bonded with cultures that perpetuate issues of intimate partner violence.
Yeah.
Hence, we are saying, us normalizing therapy will be able to ensure that we assist. And primary prevention is also of paramount importance. The project is also designed to ensure that we respond to the primary prevention. And us doing that, Bridget, yes, Bridget?
We have to leave it there for this afternoon, Sidwell, unfortunately. But thank you for cluing us in on the work that ADAPT is doing, particularly on this project, partnering up with YSL Beauty for this campaign, Abuse is Not a Love Language. And as you heard from Sidwell, he and the team are doing incredible work in this regard, and particularly taking their focuses on campus and targeting young people within their social settings. It's just
News headlines.
Bridget, in the headlines, the case of the former President Jacob Zuma's private prosecutor has been I'm still crashing. Codes has dismissed the application to the Independent Candidates Association to have the Electoral Amendment Act that Palestinians further
on the SAFM Playwriting Competition. Your script to drama@safm.co.za. For further information, email drama@safm.co.za. 2024. The 6th against Home Circle with a
with right now, founder of Payshore, which is an online escrow service that protects online buyers and sellers. A 2014 survey by Global from PwC revealed that 69% had fallen. Highlight afternoon, we are found and into this because back in 2019, your own survey conducted by Payshow revealed that 86% escrow service problem. So that we can the term escrow, I think even myself, it confuses me a little because I think of it in context of homes, and I buying perspective. In this sense, it would be like one of the property lawyers, the conveyancers or whatever that are holding on to your deposit but from a goods perspective. And I would figure with the uptake of online buying and with the uptake of sort of these reseller platforms, a service like this is vital in order to ensure that both myself, Bridget, who's selling the goods, and Bongani, who's buying the goods, are guaranteed and feeling safe and secure for that exchange.
That's 100% correct, yes. And it's platforms like Gumtree and Facebook Marketplace where a lot of the scams are rife and people are losing thousands and thousands and thousands of rand every single day, Bridget. You should see the emails that we receive, people trying to find out if there's anything we can do to assist them. But unfortunately, once money has exchanged hands, it's difficult for us to do anything. It's difficult for the banks to do anything, if you've voluntarily given money to somebody else and they turn out to be a scammer. So, like we always say, prevention is better than cure. Use the escrow service before you exchange money, not after you've exchanged money, because a lot of people are used to buying and selling that way, and just hoping that I'm dealing with an honest person. And if I may continue, it doesn't apply only to physical goods. It also applies to services. For example, if you hire somebody to do built-in cupboards for your home, for example, guy comes to your house, he does measurements, and then he tells you you're going to need this much material. That's going to cost you 50,000 rand. Please give me a deposit. He takes the deposit and you never hear of him again, But now Paysure also plugs that gap now where we take the money, we keep it, let the guy build what he's supposed to build. You as the homeowner confirm that you are happy with it, and only then we will release the money to him.
Now, tell me, Bongani, from a practical sense, I like to have a picture in my head. So from a practical sense, how would it work? Would I need to be registered on Paysure? Is it an app that I can easily download as and when I need it?
Well, we operate from our web app called on paysure.co.za. So it's paysure.co.za. So what would happen is that you've got your phone that you are selling on Facebook Marketplace, for example. I see it and I say, Bridget, I'm interested in your phone. But for me to be comfortable, let's do the transaction on Paysure. So I'll go into Paysure, put in my details, register on there, saying I'm buying an iPhone from Bridget. Here's a phone number, here's the email address, and then you will get notification that Bongani wants to buy your phone. He's inviting you to a transaction. You register as well, log in, and then you confirm that the phone is as I have described. And once you do that, then take the payment as the buyer into Paysure, and then Paysure contacts you and tells you, Bridget, your money is safe. You are not going to lose your phone now. So you can send it to Bongani. Bongani receives it, and he says, I'm happy with the phone that Bridget sent me. Then Paysure will give the money will send the money over to Bridget.
I see. Now, let's talk about the safeguards, because, people always go, okay, yeah, but how do I know, Bongani, that you've got all the systems and the cyber safeguards in place on Paysure to ensure that the transactions, firstly, are nice and seamless and smooth, but also that no kind of, fraudulent activity happens with someone maybe, I don't know, either putting in the money and taking it out once I've got the goods. Is that even possible? I don't know.
What happens is that we are licensed under the Payments Association of South Africa, which themselves fall under the Reserve Bank of South Africa. And for you to even be licensed by PASA, you need to be sponsored by one of the big banks in South Africa. They need to know that you are legit. They need to know that you are got all the checks and balances. Over and above that, we've got with Diametrics, we've got secure web servers, and our system is as far as humanly possible, completely foolproof in terms of penetration. And then we've also partnered with some really reliable and reputable companies like Ozo and Netcash. So we've covered all our bases, and our systems are we've not had an incident for as long as we've been in operation. So, but it's a very good question that you're asking, because people need to know that, look, this person might be pretending to be protecting us from scammers, and then they are the real scammers, So, no, it makes a lot of sense. So, we are, and you go onto our website. Even if you just Google Paysure, you'll see all sorts of articles written about us, and from very reputable publications and outlets, and we are trying to, our message is that we just want people to be able to live their lives the way they want to live them.
Absolutely.
You must be able to buy whatever you want to buy from anyone, from anywhere, if it makes you happy.
Absolutely. I definitely believe you. I definitely believe you. But sometimes you have to ask these questions. And funny enough,
no, you must. You must.
As I was asking it, Johannes in Limbro Park called in. I'm going to come to you immediately after this break, Johannes, because he wants to ask on the flip side of what I've just asked. But we are in conversation with Bongani Matsitsi, who is the founder of Paysure, not new, but an online escrow service that protects online buyers and sellers. If you haven't heard of it, you are hearing of it today. Paysure. Let's take a quick break here, and then we'll come back and continue our conversation.
The Queens of African Football, Banyana want to defend their WAFCON title. However, they must negotiate maximum points with their visitors, Burkina Faso. This is the second leg of the Women Africa Cup of Nations WAFCON qualifiers. West African outfit say their long trip to Southern Africa is to grab all the 3 points. All roads lead to Morocco WAFCON 2024. South Africa tackles Burkina Faso on Monday, 4 December at 2:30 p.m. Live on SABC Sport on DTT Channel 4 and S3. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. # We Love It Here. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
Hi, I'm Khomotso KG Mweketi, and I believe in music's ability to connect, to heal, to remind, and to bring joy. And each week on my Saturday and Sunday show Seasons, right here on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, I endeavor to do just that. So join the movement of Seasons every Saturday and Sunday, 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. It's addictive. You might invite a friend. Seasons, only on SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide, with me, KG Mweketi.
Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
We are talking all things Paysure, which is a secure escrow service that protects both the buyers as well as the sellers. They are a highly accredited independent third party protecting all of our interests. Johannes out in Limbro Park, how are you doing this afternoon?
Good afternoon to you and your listeners, and thank you for a wonderful discussion and
thank you.
Some good advices from your guests. I think, I suppose my question is twofold. I've been dealing with online transactions on an international and local scale since 2008. And one of the biggest challenges is that not only do you have dubious buyers, sellers, but you also have dubious buyers. And one of the most critical aspects that I feel like your guest has not maybe highlighted or discussed is the reverse logistics. Sometimes the relationship is not necessarily dubious, but the seller does not have a reverse logistics process or a returns process that ensures that the buyers have a mechanism for returning products that are defective, or products that are found to have, substandard quality. So I just want to know if there is some kind of a process in there, because I think locally this will be a beautiful process or a service to actually add to one's business.
Awesome. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Johannes. Well, definitely, I think it's a shame. It's not Bongani, it's me, Johannes. I probably hadn't gotten around to that particular part of the conversation. But you bring up something very interesting, Bongani. That's a very interesting perspective in as far as the reverse logistics, the returns of things. So I get the product. and for whatever reason, I need to return it. Is that possible? And how easy is it?
Yes, no, it's quite simple. In fact, first of all, we don't get involved in the shipping and the sending of the product, so we never physically touch anything. All the courier, all the shipping gets arranged between the buyer and the seller, right? So, but what happens is that when you're creating a transaction and you are the seller, for example, so you will state very clearly on the website, what is the condition of the product? Is it brand new? Is it a used but in a very good condition? Is it in an average condition, and so forth? You take pictures of that and then you give as much detail. So if there's a scratch on the front of the phone, for example, you mention that, and then if the buyer still wants to buy it, even though it's in that state, then it's fine. That's up to him. So when they receive the thing and they think, no, it's not exactly what I wanted, then they will inform us, listen, I've got the phone, but I'm not happy with it. Then we'll inform the buyer, inform the seller what you are unhappy about, and then you guys work it out amongst ourselves, between yourselves, what you're unhappy about and how you can find a solution to resolve it. One, we will never release the money to either the buyer nor the seller until both parties work out an agreement or an arrangement that they are both happy with. So if the seller says, listen, okay, return my phone, then it's up to the buyer to send the phone back to the buyer, back to the seller, and inform us that here's the tracking details so that we also know we can also track the phone. And once the seller has received the phone and it's in the condition that it was when it was sent by him, only then we will release the buyer's money back to them.
I see. Always complicated when it comes to things of returns and reversals and such. And I think a lot of people, we see so many people now having, these sort of online portals. People are selling things on platforms like Instagram, whatever, reselling, new boutiques. And the conversation around, firstly, safe transactions going both ways is always at the top of mind. And also the conversation around cybersecurity and ensuring that all of one's information is protected when having these, because very sensitive information is exchanging hands.
100%, yes. And it could, scammers are not just buyers, they also can be sellers, it could be either way. But what we've found is that if somebody agrees to use an escrow service in the first place, they're usually operating in good faith. That's what we have found. And I always say to people, the thing about PaySure is that it protects you without even using it. If you want to buy something from someone and you say to them, listen, I'd like to do this transaction via PaySure, if not legit, they're going to say no right there and then. It's already protected just by mentioning the name PaySure and escrow service. They're not going to want to go ahead with the transaction. So you get protected even before you even register on PaySure. But when it comes to the returns, like I said, people are acting in good faith here if they're using an escrow service. We've never had any issues. We've had returns in the past. Obviously, the seller is not happy with not making the sale, but at the end of the day, the buyer has to be happy with what they're buying, especially if it's a big money item. And and we're seeing a lot of big money items, computers, PlayStations, and with the economy of the country in the state that it's in now, a lot of people are having to let go a lot of things that they don't really need in their lives, like musical instruments, and so just to make ends meet and just to generate a little bit of extra income. So they turn to places like Facebook Marketplace and Gumtree and Instagram to sell their things, and it's very unfortunate that there are people that are trying to scam them out of their hard-earned money.
Yeah. Listen, it definitely sounds like quite the impressive platform, and I'm all the richer for having learnt about it today, and hopefully a few more people have become aware and educated about the importance of secure transaction solutions such as PaySure. Definitely, next time you are selling something or buying something, this would be the platform that I think we should consider utilizing your services. Thank you for the conversation, founder of PaySure, Bongani Machisi. I'm going to be using it. I don't even want to lie. It's fast approaching Kids Corner on the Full Circle with myself, Bridget Masinga. It should take us to the top of the hour, and then Nomalizo is going to come through with your 2 o'clock news.
It's the celebration of the century, and you're invited. We've already given away almost 3 million rand with 56 daily vouchers won. Buy a new Ford before 31 December and you could win a 50,000 rand voucher or the grand prize of us paying for your new Ford. Visit your nearest Ford dealer today. TNCs apply.
Banyana Banyana, African champions and top 16 team in the world are in action on Monday the 4th of December 2023 at the Lucas Moripe Stadium at 3 p.m. They are on the road to defend the trophy as they face Burkina Faso for the Women's Africa Cup of Nations 2024 qualifiers. Join us to close the year. Tickets are available at Ticket Pro at 20 Rand for adults and free for children under 12 and scholars in uniform. You can also watch the match live on S3 at 3 p.m.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m. This program is brought to you by SABC Education, enriching minds, enriching lives.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Kawamba. As schools are about to close, the activities I have planned for myself during this festive season is to possibly go out with my friends to different places and to later visit the rest of my family members in Northwest. I am planning on doing these activities. Them with even more.
Hello, my name is Malindle. Yes, I do have activities planned. I'm looking forward to visiting my granny. I'm going to do them with my mom and my brother. They are important because they create memories. They will help by letting me explore different places.
Good day, parents. My name is Kapyamba, my son is Nabo, and I am 12 years old. Yes, I do have activities planned for Christmas. I am looking forward to going to the movies and going to the mall. I am doing these activities with friends. I think it is important so that you can have fun and have things to do. Thank you for listening.
Hi, my name is Danica Wood. The plans I have for December is to spend time and go out with my family and friends and have a good and fun time during the festive season. I am most looking forward to just swimming and just playing and chilling with my cousins. I think that doing activities during this festive season is important because they can make you more active and fit. These activities would help me to be more fit and help me be less lazy instead of just sitting around. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Mohammed Arham Ahmed. I am 9 years old and I go to Brixton Primary School.
Yes, this festival season, I'll be going on holiday to Cape Town. I'm planning to go with my mother and my brother. Yes, it is important because it gives us relaxation. It helps me to learn more about other cultures and their history.
Hello, beautiful people of Mzansi. My name is Randi Songwane. Schools are finally closed and I am so excited because this year was one of the hardest years that I've ever had in any schooling career. All the studying, all the hard work. Oh my gosh, it was very, very tiring. So I'm really, really excited to finally rest this festive season. I think something that I'm really looking forward to this festive season is spending some time with my family, going out with my friends, and just having as much fun as possible because I wasn't really able to have a lot of fun this year because of all the work that had to be done. There's so many things that I had to stop doing or basically sacrifice because I had tons and tons of homework. So I'm just really, really excited that I can have basically a month and a half of a holiday to just rest and have fun. I am planning to do all of these activities with my family, with my friends. or with anyone who wants to have fun. I mean, it doesn't really matter, but whoever I will encounter. I think doing any sort of activity during festive season is important because usually it involves family, and I think something that is really, really important is family. We live in such a busy generation or a busy world where we forget or we can't even find time to spend time with our family. So this is basically the one time where we can share our experiences of the whole year, buy each other gifts, go out, and just have as much fun as possible.
Hello everyone, I'm Ashvika Tali. I already have so much plans for the upcoming holidays. Most of them are spending time with my friends and my family, going out and going on holidays. I don't really think that children should have their whole holiday planned out, but we should still do the things that we really want to do, and after that, just go with whatever happens, because we're still young and we're not that busy during the holidays. Planning your holidays can be helpful in some ways, like not getting confused with what's happening each day, or mixing up the dates or times, or even overloading your day with too many events. So planning out your holidays can be a good thing, but as kids, you should spend your holidays in a way that you see fit. Thank you for listening.
Guess what? Schools are about to officially close, and that means it's time for the ultimate festive season fun. Woohoo! We've got a bunch of magical activities lined up that you can choose from to make these days sparkle with excitement. First off on our magical list is the Creative Wonderland. You can dive into the world of arts and craft. Whether it's making holiday cards for your friends and family or crafting your own enchanted decorations, the possibilities are as endless as a wizard's spellbook. Next up is the Movie Marathon Quest. You can grab your popcorn, blankets, and snuggle up for a cozy movie marathon. From animated wonders to epic adventures, let's embark on a cinematic journey together. Maybe you can even vote on which movie to watch first. Oh, the Outdoor Explorers Expedition is a must. Let's explore the great outdoors like true explorers. Whether it's a nature walk, a picnic in the park, or even a magical scavenger hunt, the world outside is our playground. Who knows what treasures we might discover? The Bookworm Retreat is calling. Pick out some magical books and create your very own reading nook. It's like entering different realms and meeting fantastic characters without leaving the comfort of your cozy corner. And for the aspiring chefs among us, the Magical Recipe Challenge awaits. You can try your hand in creating enchanted snacks or even cook up a festive feast. But always be careful, and always do it in the presence of an elder. And last but not least, the Game Night Extravaganza. Board games, card games, or even creating your own unique games. Let's turn our living rooms into a game-filled wonderland. It's like hosting our very own Game Olympics. So friends, get ready for a holiday filled with creativity, exploration, and laughter.
This program was brought to you by SABC Education. Enriching minds, enriching lives. Independent and impartial. This is SAFM News.
Top stories this hour. Zuma's private prosecution against Ramaphosa postponed, and Gazans warned to move as Israel expands ground offensive. Good afternoon. The case of the former President Jacob Zuma's private prosecution of President Cyril Ramaphosa has been postponed to April the 11th next year. Zuma has accused his successor of failing to act on a complaint laid against State Advocate Billy Downer, the lead prosecutor in his arms deal corruption case, and of being an accessory after the fact to contraventions of the National Prosecuting Authority Act. A full bench of the High Court in Johannesburg reviewed Zuma's private prosecution of Ramaphosa in July. In September, the same full bench refused Zuma's application for leave to appeal. Zuma's legal representative Dalim Mpofu was in court to seek the postponement.
By that time, there'll be hopefully better indication from the SAA. I might mention in passing a lot that there is, as your Lordship might also know from the public domain, there's a related matter in KZN, and we're going to be trying to consolidate those at the SAA level. That other one was served on time. There was no problem of condemnation. There were just hiccups on this one. So, my Lord, subject to confirmation from my learned friend, we have once again prepared a draft order if that date is in order.
The Constitutional Court's Justice Nonkosi Mhlandla has dismissed the application of Build One South Africa and the Independent Candidates Association to have the Electoral Amendment Act declared unconstitutional. The two approached the court earlier this year. They argued that the act was unconstitutional as it restricted the participation of independent candidates in the elections and their representation in the National Assembly compared to political party candidates. The EFF wants the Powers and Privileges Committee to subpoena the National Assembly Speaker Nosiviwe Mapisa-Nqakula to appear before the committee next week. It wants Parliament to respond by the close of business tomorrow. The subpoena relates to a separate hearing involving 13 EFF MPs who are expected to appear before the committee next week. The party approached the Western Cape High Court today. The 13 were removed during the presidency's budget vote in June last year and during the oral reply session in August last year. Tomorrow, the Assembly is expected to consider the sanctions of 6 other EFF MPs, including the party leader, Julius Malema. Mercedes Besant reports.
The EFF's lawyers say Mapisa-Nqakula has to be subpoenaed to the hearing as she was the decision maker who ordered the removal of the 13 EFF MPs in June and August last year. They say they want her to explain a decision and they want to test her side of the story during the hearings. The EFF legal team has given Parliament until the close of business tomorrow to indicate whether Mapisa-Nqakula will be subpoenaed when the hearing starts next week. Meanwhile, the EFF lawyers say they await the Assembly's decision on sanctions against Malema and 5 other MPs for the Sona event this year.
Police have nabbed 2 suspected illegal miners in an abandoned building in Lotlakane near Brits in the northwest. It is believed that they were separating gold from the soil. The 2 have already appeared in court. The police spokesperson, Adele Mayberg, says officers went to the homes of the accused where they found pieces of gold.
The Diu Amarashe Mashlanga, which is 35, and Alista Mashlanga, which is 23, were immediately arrested and appeared before the Brits Magistrate Court on Friday, the 1st of December, on charges of unlawful possession of gold-bearing material and processing machinery. They were remanded in custody until today for their bail application before the same court.
The National Stokvel Society of South Africa has warned members of stokvels to keep their operations private. The association says stokvels are beneficial to members. However, they must be vigilant when they share their savings as the festive season approaches. The society's chairperson, Andrew Lukele.
People tend to take a shortcut. Instead of trying to gather people around from the same neighborhood, they want to join existing stokvels of people that they don't know. It is dangerous because it doesn't have that trust element. So it's very important for people to join people who exist and know them very well.
And in the Middle East, around 170,000 Palestinians in Gaza have been told to move further south as Israel expands its ground offensive against Hamas. An Israeli military spokesperson has denied reports that Israel is trying to move Palestinians from anywhere in Gaza permanently. The Israelis are circulating maps online that say they show safe areas, but reports say these are almost impossible for most Gazans to access. They say they reflect U.S. government pressure on the Israelis to kill fewer Palestinians. The BBC's Jeremy Bowen has the details.
There have been some very strong statements about that, increasingly strong, from very senior Americans, the Vice President, the Secretary of State, and the Secretary for Defense, who said essentially that Israel, this is a quote in fact, he said that if Israel keeps on killing Palestinian civilians at the rate that it does, it will push them into the arms of Hamas and it will turn a tactical victory into a strategic defeat. That is very, very unequivocal, I'd say.
Recapping our top story this hour, the case of the former President Jacob Zuma's private prosecution of President Cyril Ramaphosa has been postponed to April the 11th next year. Zuma has accused his successor of failing to act on a complaint laid against State Advocate Billy Downer, the lead prosecutor in his arms deal corruption case. I'll be back with the headlines at the bottom of the hour. For SFM News, I'm Nomalizo Mandela.
SAFM 104 to 107 nationwide. Leading the conversation.
Brighton and Hove Albion are going all out to brighten their clash against Burnley FC with maximum points.
A dinger again, that was a masterpiece.
However, Burnley FC will display a sense of urgency to move up from the relegation zone.
Ariola has scored! Down the middle! Burnley lead! Shea Rodriguez!
Who will have a great day on the field of play? The Seagulls or the Clarids? This is the Premier League. Catch the exciting clash between Brighton and Hove Albion and Burnley FC on Saturday, 9 December at 4 p.m. live on S3. Also available on SABC Plus and SABCSport.com. Hashtag we love it here. Brought to you by SABC Sport. For the love of the game.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga. Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Been carrying around this feeling for someone. His name is, but I love him still. Can anybody hear me say, hey, what am I to do now? Hey, what am I to say now? Hey, what am I to do now? What am I to say now? You're so amazing, yet I don't even know your name. See, around here, all I do is have a face. Say you're the one, but I don't even know your place. Sends me one, but I don't even know his name. Don't even know his name. So amazing. No, I don't. So amazing. Don't even know his name. So amazing. His name is so amazing. So amazing. Name is so amazing. Amazing. So amazing.
It is Zonke coming through with Nameless. I mean, not, I don't know, we can say everything we want to say about Zonke, but we know what she is. She's a prolific songwriter and even phenomenal performer. Haven't seen her in concert yet, but looking forward to the day. You know that thing when you haven't seen an artist in full concert, in their full performance glory, but you kind of seen them perform at events, shows, at ceremonies and things like that, but that's not enough. Sometimes you just need to immerse yourself in their world and in their vision, and I think that comes out when you go see an artist in performance, particularly when it's their own tour. When it's an idea that they've created from start to finish, then you really get to see how they want their music presented. So one of these days, I think I'm going to make time and actually go see Zonke when she's in concert. Zonke Nameless, that is how we enter the second hour of the show. We're going to be talking around access to finance and credit for women and youth-owned businesses, and some of the barriers that a lot of those entrepreneurs, business owners who want to venture off on their own might be facing, particularly when it comes to accessing financial resources. According to MasterCard's Index of Women Entrepreneurs 2021, women-led businesses in South Africa make up only 21.9% of the formal SME sector. And even though valuable contributors to our society, women-owned businesses still remain far fewer than the male counterparts, despite focus on, of course, supporting female entrepreneurs in the past years. And what is causing these problems? Ronnie Mbatsana, who is the managing director, managing executive for the SME business at ABSA Group, is going to enlighten us a little bit more. Good afternoon to you, Ronnie.
Good afternoon, Bridget, and good afternoon to your listeners, and very happy to be here, and I appreciate the time given.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So even though we talk a big game around, women being in the majority in South Africa, opening up avenues for women to get into business, particularly in the SME sectors. But from what I've just read, women-owned businesses remain far fewer than their male counterparts, despite all this focus in supporting women. Why is that?
There's various reasons, Bridget, and again, I appreciate the opportunity to share our insights and what we're trying to do as a bank. While the country has really made some gains in supporting women and youth, we do see that obviously there's still a long way for us to really close that gap that you've actually mentioned with regards to the statistics that you have shared. Women and youth have historically found it very difficult to secure funding, whether in the mainstream or not in the mainstream. This is what we have seen over the years, that the lack of appropriately designed financial products or solutions dedicated to these particular groups, were specifically youth and women, who are making the majority in terms of the numbers of people within South Africa, if you're just talking South Africa specifically. So we have decided as a bank to put the very same women and youth in the room and started asking them questions in terms of some of the challenges that they've been facing through the research that we have done with them. And there are so many things that women are actually juggling with that are running businesses. And you have to understand beyond the funding to be able to accommodate, not necessarily to accommodate, but to be able, to assist them meaningfully within the challenges that they are actually facing that are completely different than men. So as a bank, we came up with two propositions that speak directly to that cater specifically for youth and women that are designed with them in mind. The Absa Emerging Entrepreneur and the Absa Business She Thrives is a proposition that we're putting forward, and the response we have seen in the 2 months we've been out in the market has been remarkable.
Before we even get to perhaps some of those the answers to the problem, Ronnie, let's touch a little bit also about the challenges. You mentioned that women and youth in particular face very specific and different challenges to the male counterparts. What have come up from conversations with these demographics in as far as what those challenges, burdens and barriers to access might look like?
No, I mean, I will start with the women one. What we have found is that, the biggest thing is actually women are playing a much more different role in society than men. They raise, kids. Majority of them that we're having in the room, have challenges with regards to the time dedicated into the business, even though they are actually entrepreneurs by spirit and by the gift. You will find that their navigation into the world of business is much more different than how actually men will navigate into this world. And that is the challenge that we've actually seen. We've also seen that, from a startup point of view, majority of the women who start their own businesses, they lack majority of the non-financial support. I'm just talking about things like...
Ronnie? Oh, I think we lost Ronnie there for a second. We're going to try and get Ronnie back on the line. Perhaps let's take a quick break here, and while my team tries to reconnect with Ronnie, and then we'll come back and continue the conversation.
It's the celebration of the century, and you're invited. We've already given away almost 3 million rand with 56 daily vouchers won. Buy a new Ford before 31 December and you could win a 50,000 rand voucher or the grand prize of us paying for your new Ford. Visit your nearest Ford dealer today. TNCs apply.
EFC is live this Thursday. 3 incredible title fights in one night. The welterweight strap is on the line as Mark Hume takes on P. Sengopane. And the most dominant featherweight Iga Cabeza faces the only man he has lost to in 6 years, the Pitbull, Ronaldo Exon. Plus, the finishing machine Humphrey King Cobra Malenga takes on Kaleka Kabanda for the vacant lightweight title. EFC 110, watch it on SABC Sport Channel on DTT Channel 4 from 7 p.m. Brought to you by SABC Sport.
The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
Apologies for that, Ronnie. Sometimes technology just lets everybody down. We are in conversation with MD, Managing Executive at SME Business at Absa Group, Ronnie Mbatsane, and we're talking around, breaking perhaps some of those barriers to credit facility and, of course, funding access for women and youth-owned businesses. And as we were so rudely interrupted, you were just taking us through some of, highlighting two of sort of the more prominent challenges that came out of your conversation with women and youth in business.
No, I'm sorry about that. And I think with some of the challenges we are seeing, I'm probably experiencing them now. Load shedding is one of the challenges that we are seeing today. But to come back to the question, I think what we have found is both financial and non-financial support for women is really key. So we have designed a proposition that speaks directly to that. But the biggest challenge that we've seen in terms of non-financial support is the ability to be able to.
Yeah, I think definitely the connections are. Probably load shedding is playing a big part in this conversation in as far as disrupting our connection to Ronnie. Looking at the time, it's 2:20, which means that either he or us are experiencing load shedding at this particular moment. I'm not too sure in as far as the schedule here in Auckland Park, but as much as the building is powered up, our surrounds do get affected and our networks sometimes do drop when we get affected by load shedding. It makes for sort of interesting broadcasting in a world of live radio where we have to make conversation. But anyway, we'll endeavor to get him back because this is a very important conversation and one would like to get a bit more information in as far as some of the support that is offered. Let's hope that a WhatsApp connection will not drop us this time around. Maybe Ronnie, let's also highlight in as far as driving positive change in youth and women entrepreneurship. We all agree that, this contributes to building a more inclusive and equitable entrepreneurial ecosystem. And of course, this means big banks as sort of gatekeepers of finance need to come to the party in this regard.
No, absolutely. And I think that that's the reason we have decided to come up, that we cannot be an outsider and be, bystanders and watching these two groups, not being able to participate in the mainstream, banking. And we have decided to make sure that we dedicate our focus and energy into women and youth. And that we have seen a big shift, in terms of the challenges that women and youth find it very difficult, from banks and financial institutions, due to how, historically they've actually been organized in a traditional way. So we have put in alternative funding, which is actually a first in the market, to allow women and youth to, take up funding in our own environment up to 5 million without actually asking for what we historically call collateral or security. So that also is a big burden uplifted to take out to allow them to be able to get the much needed capital to start up their business, and then we'll work with them in a non-financial support and allow them to, to be nurtured and survive what we call the first 3 years, which is normally very challenging in business, so that the business can actually break even and be able to be sustained, by itself over time.
Yeah, I mean, that is a huge thing. Having the ability to access upwards of, up to 5 million rands worth of funding without any collateral. And a lot of people will tell you that, that's often the biggest hindrance when going out to seek funding is the collateral, number one, and also the conversation around mentorship and experience, because it is a calculated risk for those giving over the access to the funding. Oh, I swear. I think we just got deflated and defeated by ESCOM, and this is why it's so frustrating when voter registration weekend comes and people don't register. But let's get to the business at hand. Register to vote. I was saying that up to 5 million funding, that's some big money, and to say that one can access it without collateral. And you mentioned also, the mentorship that comes for those who access, because a lot of times bank will tell you that we're taking a calculated risk on Bridget. We've got to protect our investment. Maybe let's bank it and save the conversation for another day. Really, load shedding is letting us down tremendously as we try and get our bearings on the show. But I think we'll bank this conversation and double back to it, because it is a very important conversation to be had, particularly by women and youth entrepreneurs in the country who are very much always crying around having the ability to access funding and to access much needed financial resource without sort of the overheads that come with it in the long run. We'll bank this conversation. We'll try and find a day that might work best for both Ronnie and I, perhaps when he's also in an area where load shedding isn't a hindrance, and maybe when we are not on a load shedding schedule as well. You can just hear it's completely deflated us with our team. It just makes for what we have to do so difficult at times when we are in the throes of whatever stages of load shedding that are just incomprehensible at this particular point in time. As much as the building is up and running and we keep the signals up, we keep the lights on, we keep everything going, we can only control our internal environment to a certain degree before externally we also get affected and our guests get affected as well, as you can hear in this particular instance with Ronnie's line dipping out on us. Let's perhaps also encourage you at this point, if you have any thoughts on your mind, feel free to do so. 061-410-4107. That is our WhatsApp line if you would like to share your thoughts on anything at all, whether it's conversations thus far or whatever is sitting heavy on your heart. You are more than welcome to do so. We're still going to be in conversation with Kopano Cohen. We're going to be talking mental health around, specifically for those in the creative industry. I think a lot of times we don't have this conversation with creatives, and of course by nature of what they often do for a living and the kind of career trajectory that comes with being a creative. It's stop start, it's 2 steps forwards, 5 steps backwards. It can create quite the cycle, the vicious cycle of instability and uncertainty and insecurity in one's life, and it can magnify whatever underlying mental issues that a person may be dealing with, awares or unawares of. Let's go to WhatsApp and hear what's on your mind.
Bridget, that's actually very interesting what he has just said in terms of those criteria that they've put in place. So I must say, personally, I would get hold of one of their managers, Baweli Lentuli, and ask her about this and see then if I can qualify. Thanks, it's Bongi here.
Thank you, Bongi. I think you should get a hold of one of their managers, Baweli Ntuli, and see if you qualify. And if you are a female, sounds like you are a female entrepreneur, and definitely information worth also dispersing to your group of females. I think at times when we happen to come across such life-changing information, we often forget to pass and pass, right? You got to pass and pass to the next person so that they too can also tap into the resources. But definitely we will earmark this. Maybe we'll ask Ronnie to either come in, or we'll ask Ronnie to go over to their head office where I'm sure they are powered up and have all the backup generation that they need so that load shedding does not affect them, so that we can have a deeper conversation around this offering that ABSA has got going on for women and youth entrepreneurs, more than just the money, even also just talking around some of the mentorship program that he alluded to. It would have been nice to hear a little bit more about that as well, for them also to safeguard their investment in your business, but also just ensuring that you get all the necessary support, really, the necessary support to ensure that your dreams come to fruition. It's just gone 2:30. Nomalizo is standing by with the headline news.
SAFM News Headlines.
Thank you, Bridget. In the headlines, Transnet's National Port Authority has called for requests from the private sector for the expansion of the Durban Port's container terminal. The authority's top management announced at a media briefing that the project is pivotal in unlocking 14 other mega projects in the port over the next 15 years. In other news, the case of the former President Jacob Zuma's private prosecution of President Cyril Ramaphosa has been postponed to April the 11th next year. Zuma has accused his successor of failing to act on a complaint laid against State Advocate Billy Downer, the legal prosecutor, in his arms deal corruption case. And heavy rains and strong winds have battered India's southeastern coast after a depression over the Bay of Bengal intensified into a powerful cyclonic storm. Details on these and other stories at the top of the hour.
The Portfolio Committee on Communications and Digital Technologies invites interested individuals and stakeholders to submit written comments on the SABC bill. The bill seeks to repeal the Broadcasting Act of 1999 to regulate the continued existence of the SABC, to provide its governance, to amend the ICASA Act of 2000 and the Electronic Communications Act of 2005. For more information, contact the Portfolio Committee of Communications and Digital Technologies by emailing sabcbill@parliament.gov.za, directed to Hanjiera Sali. Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
We are in conversation now with Kopano Cohen, who's in studio, so this should be a seamless conversation. I'm really still feeling bad about that Ronnie conversation, but he has promised that he'll come to studio, and then we can further that discussion. Very important, especially getting into the new year. But Kopano is here, and she is a mental health activist alongside being a television executive producer and all kinds of other fabulous things. And she visits us from time to time. We talk about a whole variety of things. And last time we were with you, it was our Women's Day conversation. Yeah. Still, thank you for coming through and being a part of that.
It was so great. Thanks for the invite. And actually, I made connections with people that are like someone I studied with in law school, and now we're chatting again. And it was just like, it was so... it filled my heart. It was a good conversation.
You went to law school as well?
Yeah, I left high school and I was writing plays already.
Yeah.
I did the raps, plays, and whatever. My mom was like, "Nah, girl, when your marks are too good, it's either medicine or law." And my dad had been a doctor, but yeah. So the law thing, I think about it now and I'm like, she really helped me because in terms of where I sit even now with my new role, it does help to be able to understand a contract. So I did the 4-year law degree and then I gave her the piece of paper and ran.
You were almost done. Articles was coming next, girl. And
I knew for a fact that I couldn't do articles because those sort of last third year pracs where you are in the high court dealing with, granted it was sort of small time crime, I just knew that was not where I was going to be. I'm a creator of things. I think about things, imagine things and bring them to life, and I've always been that. And it didn't make sense to be involved in other people's bad stuff.
Yeah.
It would have ended me. It just would have sent me. And that's just not the thing. So yeah, no.
Lovely. A true example of knowing who you are. And I think that also, as creatives, as we segue into to this conversation, because we did make promises in that discussion that you would come back and we would have this conversation. Very important, particularly for creatives.
Yep.
And oftentimes people would go, but creatives, you guys, you have the cool lives, the no 2 days are the same, the good jobs, the cool jobs. But it actually takes a lot from creatives, because part of it, and I bring it up, part of it is the sense of knowing who you are, but also that's constantly being shaken by the environment that you work in that questions exactly that. Who are you?
The industry we're in. I think people think about us as people who get to play for a living, and yes, there is a measure of that. However, if your job is to create stories that resonate with people so that people can either buy a product or, sit up for a half an hour show, you have to create resonance, right? And that comes from within, right? I wouldn't have been able to create formats that were dating formats like Date My Family, etc. if I wasn't a person who was having the black experience and know that black people don't date and think, oh, what if we did a show that turned that on its head, right? So I think we create from our life experience, we create from who we really are, and we have to show up as that person every day. I think people who work in corporate sometimes you don't have to show up as your most open self because you're doing a job that is not necessarily contingent on you bringing parts of yourself to work. We as creatives bring parts of ourselves to work every day. We don't get to hide behind anything. You're always exposed.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it very hard, right? Because, and I think I had said to you earlier when we, in that previous conversation, I suffer with bipolar 2. So I was diagnosed with bipolar 2 in my late 20s. And so many of us have got mental health conditions, and it also becomes like a running joke. The other day I was in the kitchen with my daughter and I was like, oh, look, my doctor says I might have adult ADHD on top of everything. And she said, oh, look at you, you're a triple threat. And it shouldn't have been funny.
Yeah,
Like
as
my
I
daughter-
chuckle.
Yeah, it shouldn't have been funny,
Yeah.
but I think that's how we sustain, right? A lot of it is like us, the things that we say to each other, the memes that we send about our stuff.
Self-deprecating.
Yeah, absolutely. I know so many creatives and all we do is laugh at ourselves. And I think, thank God we have the gift to laugh at ourselves.
Yeah.
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 Because, and weirdly enough, that in itself can be a bit of a survival mechanism, right? This whole notion of don't take yourself too seriously, because otherwise you just wallow into the darkness of the, oh, woe is me.
Yeah, you do. And, I think, and I always say to people, because I've got so many friends with mental health issues, and I say, anyone who can live in this world without the need for medication or therapy is much tougher than me. The world is in a place, Bridget, that is terrifying. I mean, we were laughing the other day about, we're looking at the concept of the possible World War III facing us, what's happening in the Middle East and what's happening in the Ukraine and Russia, and war is everywhere. And the world has become so complicated, even in terms of things like information, who is giving the information, can twist it any way that they want. And we're living in a world that is so, it makes it harder and harder to be your authentic, real, raw self because it's such a difficult world. And so, the mental health advocacy work that I do came from the idea that I work with so many young people in the creative spaces, and we talk about what can we do. I'm feeling like this, I suggest maybe therapy. I've been the person that's been able to kind of see it in others because I've lived with it for so long, and I think that's a gift that I really, 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 really respect. I love the fact that I have that gift.
I think the other thing that a lot of people don't also appreciate is, we've sort of been touching on it a little bit. A lot of people don't appreciate the instability that is the creative world. You see the finished products of things. You assume that, oh my gosh, all those names you see going up on the credits must be all set. You see glimmers of life of the 1% of the 1%, and you think everyone's out there popping bottles, driving in fancy German automobiles, vacationing in Cape Town, living their best life. But the vast majority, and not specific to South Africa, just the vast majority of creatives worldwide are just on survival mode from day to day.
Yeah, and it's not just, I think it's two things. It's the fact that many of us are freelancers, right? Especially in this country, the freelance industry. It's a difficult thing when you might have work today and you might not have work tomorrow. Obviously, people are very good at planning for it and being able to save. But I think there is something very difficult about working in a sort of gig economy. I don't think it's a gig economy to the extent that it's like, but it is working on and off that creates the instability. The other thing is that because we work with passion, right, and we have to bring 100% of ourselves to the job, there are days where you just don't have it. I am currently going through, I think, a mild burnout. And I know I have burnout when I start thinking, and this is imposter syndrome, maybe you didn't make any of those shows. Maybe all that time you've been sitting there thinking you're an amazing creative, other people have been doing it. My first intrusive thought during burnout is maybe you're not as good as you think. And
that's problematic.
Huge. And I think now that we're sitting and talking about it, right? I mean, when I talk to my therapist about that, she gives me tools about how to unpack intrusive thoughts and question them, right? And I say to people all the time, intrusive thoughts, if you question them 3 times, but why? But why? But why? So the thought is, you're not as great, maybe. But why am I not as great? Okay. So if you question your intrusive thoughts, you're quite often able to identify them as intrusive thoughts, but that's taken 10 years of therapy and medication and a mental health journey. As Black people and Black women in particular, we live with this idea that someone anytime now is going to come and remove Bridget because Bridget's not actually good at what she does. Although Bridget has been here for 10 years, just killing it. The imposter syndrome of it all, I think for us in particular, can be so debilitating. Mine, when I know I'm beginning to have creative burnout, I know that I start questioning myself. The questioning myself can then turn into anxiety, right? Which is, I'm scared to act now because, if I'm not that good at what I've been doing all this time, maybe I should. So then it begins this whole cycle, and that I want to talk to you about today, really about creative burnout and some of the tools I've used and what people can consider. And even if you're not a creative, right? People talk about burnout as if it means go to bed, go to sleep for a weekend. And no. Burnout for creatives is the lack of inspiration. It's when your inspiration runs dull and you're looking at yourself going, I don't actually know that thing that kept me going, that made me jump out of bed, and all of that. And that is the most dangerous thing about what we face as creatives when we burn out. We start to really question ourselves in unhealthy ways,
Let's hold that thought right there as we usher in Aldrin St. Pierre, and then we'll come out on the other side and explore that a little bit more. Aldrin is on the other side of the door, getting ready to let us know what's coming up on Beyond the Headline.
SAFM supports a litter-free South Africa. Play your part in keeping our surroundings and environment clean. SAFM, leading the conversation. The Full Circle with Bridget Masinga, Monday to Friday, 1 to 3 p.m.
How are you doing? How was the weekend?
I'm good. Had a beautiful weekend.
Lovely.
Managed to catch a bit of the GQ award.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
We are those people now. We are those people now. Missed out on the radio awards, but congratulations to the winners. Yeah. You know what it feels like to win, right?
I do.
You do know?
Not once, but twice.
So congratulations to all of the winners. Zoleka Kota, Share, the Sunrise team as well. Congratulations, guys.
Lovely.
Well done.
What's coming up today?
Coming up on the show today, we look at the Constitutional Court judgment that has been handed down on the independent candidates' participation in the general elections coming up next year. So remember, the Independent Candidates Association had gone to court to argue that the Amendment Act that was ascended to by the President is unconstitutional, and the court has now found that actually it is constitutional, so they're going to go ahead. They're going to go ahead with the current act that is in place. So we'll be speaking
with the current threshold.
Exactly, with the current threshold, even though the argument has been that it is unconstitutional, but now the Constitutional Court has said actually it's not unconstitutional. So we'll be speaking to the ICA on that, and then speaking about High Court rulings or court rulings. The one that was delivered on Friday last week by the High Court on load shedding and declaring that it is a humanitarian disaster, one, and also the impact that it's having on the lives of people. But I wonder, though, if it is possible, because the court has given the Minister of Electricity 2 months to come up with a schedule that would allow public facilities like hospitals and schools to be exempted from load shedding. Is that really possible, and how do you do that?
I wonder, right? Because, I don't understand the technicalities and logistics around the grid.
Yeah.
But I think that would mean that entire whole suburbs then, because I've got like 4 hospitals in a 10-15 kilometer radius. So does that mean the whole of does that mean the whole of like Bryanston, Fourways, Sandton is now lit 24/7?
And that's the thing, because I remember when they went to court with this application, there was an energy expert that we spoke to, and he said it's difficult to split because some of these hospitals and some of the schools also use the main supply that also supplies the surrounding areas.
Yeah.
So when you say that you want to split it, how exactly are you going to be able to do that? And considering also how congested the electricity network is.
But I also heard City Power the other day, last week in fact, I'm just not sure who the lady was from City Power, saying they want more control.
Yes,
in as far as how load shedding goes.
The CEO, yeah. So at least what they're doing now, like with a stage 4 load shedding, and you get like 4 or 5 hours of load shedding. What City Power is trying to do, while they say up until stage 3, up until stage 3, they try to limit it to 2 hours, so it doesn't go above the 2 hours. So that they say, for instance, in Bryanston, you'll get your 2 hours, although you owe us another hour, that hour will come a bit later on. So you don't have like protected hours of load shedding, and they said that has actually helped them to also nab criminals who try to steal cables, because one of the guys nearly got electrocuted because electricity came back.
Yeah.
And they weren't expecting the electricity to come back again.
Yeah, we need to be thinking differently around
Yeah.
load shedding.
So those are some of the stories that we have on the agenda, and also looking what's happening at COP28 and all of the money that's being pledged.
Lovely stuff. Aldrin St. Pierre is coming up on Beyond the Headline this afternoon, 3 until 6 o'clock.
If you're active on social media and love SAFM, we hope you'll take a moment to like or follow our SAFM page on Facebook and Twitter. These are the best places to find all the guest information, conversations, and stories you love from your favorite presenters, along with regular updates from SABC News. And don't forget, you can send your questions to feedback@safm.co.za. SAFM, leading the conversation. You're listening to Bridget Masinga on SAFM.
So a recent white paper by the Wits Medical Research Council Developmental Pathways for Health Research Unit revealed that 25.7% of South Africans are most likely depressed, with more than a quarter of the respondents reporting moderate to severe symptoms of depression. We are in conversation with a mental health activist and, of course, a television executive producer, Kopano Cohen, who herself is diagnosed with bipolar 2. And today we're talking mental health awareness, specific to the creatives, but broadly speaking, anybody can benefit from this conversation. And before Aldrin came in, we were talking about burnout.
Yep.
And it's a thing that I think a lot of us just get confused. We're like, ngikhathele, but it's vastly different.
No. And I think that's why when I walked in, I said to you, "Oh, Bridget, are you taking some time off?" And you were like, you're going to take Christmas off. Burnout, strangely, is very different for very different people. I have my friend Luendo, who I do my mental health podcast with. I call her my bipolar sister. She's currently going through it. And for her, it's been really hard, to the point of taking 12 days, days off, because people think one night of sleep will solve burnout. Possibly it might help if you have tiredness, but remember also that creatives have to work from a place of this sort of full thing in your heart, this full, creative spark that then you can bring forward. And if that thing is dull and being dulled on the daily, which it is, you have to work extra hard, and there are extra things you have to do. Sleep is not enough. You have to find your inspiration again, Bridget. And I'm sure you've been there too, because I consider what you do a creative thing, right? Where you're creative. That thing that sits in your gut and excites you about things is gone. I know I'm reaching burnout or depression when watching TV doesn't excite me. When I don't have a show I'm watching that I'm excited about, I know. I say, this is not, because TV is my passion. I'm not just here by accident. Yeah. If I don't have a show that I'm loving, I know. If I can flip through channel after channel and nothing excites me, that's how I know, okay, I must talk to my doctor, because it looks like here I'm in a bit of a depressive episode. That's from 10, 12 years of working through my mental health to be able to even say to myself, you're a bit down, right? So many depressed people don't even know they're depressed, because it doesn't look the same for everyone. People assume it's I'm suicidal ideation. It's I'm tired and I'm sleeping all the time. Have you seen people who smile the whole weekend and then do themselves in and die by suicide on Monday?
I've heard of smiling depression. Yeah. It's a real thing.
It's an absolute real thing, and it's the most dangerous kind. And even the discourse we have on social media and everywhere about people who die by suicide, uzbulele, that person killed themselves. It's like that person went through so much to get to the point of hopelessness, to the point of there is nothing else. And many times there are cries for help and things to identify, but many of our families don't have the language. I always say I'm so blessed to come from a medical family. My mom was an actual psychiatric nurse. These conversations in my home are so much easier, and they in such a way that we can use the right words, we can name things, and we can get through it as a family. But many people don't have that, Bridget. So even for you, maybe burnout doesn't look to you like I'm exhausted and I can't think, because maybe because also if you're a pro at something, like I just said to you, you can still function at a certain level and work. But burnout in particular has very specific other symptoms, and I actually want to go through some of those with you if I can. All right, so I actually had written them down just to, So somebody told me yesterday about something called the overtime black hole. Okay. And us as creatives, you don't stop, right? And if there's a campaign and you're working, and even though leadership and the bosses are like, yeah, we appreciate Bridget puts in the work. That black hole of overtime has taken in so many people that didn't manage to escape it, because I don't get time to even think about anything else. I'm on this campaign. I've been at it for a year. I think about only this. And then when it ends, you crash. I have crashed after a big project so many times that, like, now my husband expects it. You know, after I've done a show and it's done, I will go down for weeks because I've been working on adrenaline for weeks and now it's done. I will cry and lament as if someone died in my life, because like writers, the characters in your books are real, you know. So I think there's the idea that we must work and work and work and work, and because we can, and we fall down this hole. And even leadership has to be very careful in creative spaces about pushing people too far. The most creative people you have, yes, they can take on a lot, but at which point do they reach the point of no return? We don't ask ourselves that as leaders. We don't communicate like that. We don't talk about, you know, actual leave that people must take seriously, that has to happen. And this is mental health in the workplace. And again, everyone, you know, these superstars, that person, they deliver. Those people are going through a lot just generally because they are working at 100% at all times. Nobody's supposed to be working at 100% at all times without a break. And then anxiety. So my current bout of burnout has just been, so anxious.
Yeah.
And I tried to word it the other day talking to London, and I said, I'm anxious because things are shutting down. Now, I finally work for an organization with a boss who's like obsessed with us resting. Like, our mental health is top of his mind. I haven't digested it yet. It's only been a few months, but he will, the kind of boss who's like, no, I expect everybody to down tools. I get anxious when I'm not working all the time. Like, if I take a day off, there's an anxiety that goes, you're missing something here. And I have to say to my husband, Nick, I'm sitting here on the couch anxious that I'm not doing anything. And he'll have to say to me, there is nothing to be done. And because you're always going, because you're in this high performance culture, you don't even know when to shut down. And that's the scary part about burnout, is where you're burning out, but you don't know you're burning out until it's too late, until now you're hospitalized in a psychiatric unit. And people can make fun of you then, because that's the other thing, right? When you get admitted on a 21-day hold, those same people who could have supported you didn't see it coming, and now it's like, that person has lost it, you know.
Sure.
You know, it's a difficult thing. It's a difficult thing. But I do want to talk about 5 things that maybe creatives can kind of think, things that have worked for me through the years, right?
Okay.
That possibly can be starting blocks to think if you have it and what to do if you have it. Acknowledge it. Like what we're doing right now, I'm hoping that even you are thinking about it, Bridget, right now, to go, am I a little bit more tired than I should have been? Because if you don't name the problem, you can't solve the problem. If you can't say, this doesn't feel like me, I'm a bit tired, talk to somebody who knows you well. It is so important to, and I'm not calling this a self-diagnosis moment. I'm saying you know when you are tired. And you know when you're tired is tired, as the kids say.
Yeah.
Acknowledge it. Begin by acknowledging it and saying, I'm kind of suffering here.
This feels different.
Yeah. And that's exactly it, right? If you can say, this feels different, then you know, all hands on deck, what do I need to do, right? I think that's an important one. The other one is you need to write down the symptoms. So, like, I want to show you this thing of mine, and actually the cover of it said "Another Day, Another Slay." I actually have a symptom book, and I write daily. Here's where I'm at. Here's how I'm feeling. Because you can refer back to the last time you were burnt out and be like, yeah, this is exactly the same feeling. It's an important tool for yourself. But I mean, anyway, we know journaling works because it gets us out of our heads, and it's a really great tool. I use it, right? And then, you know, you exercise. Many people don't like it. I'm not saying go out and run 42 kilometers, but it does give you dopamine and it does get you out of your head. Exercise is a really great tool to get you out of your head into your body and out there doing something good for your body. I know so many people who do sitting jobs like you, like me, and we get back pain and we get this. You're sitting too much. Get out.
Yeah.
Get out. Nobody's saying go into the gym and be with the fit kids. Take a walk, you know.
It's so weird you mentioned that, Kopana, because we were talking about it with my team earlier on, just the different kind of, you know, exercise and activities. And I was saying boxing quickly for me allowed that, because I realized through counseling as well that I don't take a mental break. I'm forever on a loop. And I don't know whether it's anxiety or living in a sense of scarcity mode all the time. I'm always thinking about what's going to happen. And because I don't get that break, and my psychiatrist or psychologist brought that to my attention, then I connected that boxing does exactly that for me. For an hour every day, I get to think about not being knocked out.
Boxing is amazing also for imagining. I put the faces of all the people who've put me through the worst. Like, I have a specific person who won't be named, and his face is always on that boxing thing. And I find that the most therapeutic. Yeah, it's unbelievable.
It really is.
Vitamin D, guys, and I'm not talking about the naughty vitamin D. Get out into the sun. Vitamin D is known to have benefits for mental health, like a line of benefits for health. 15 minutes out there getting your vitamin D. Don't take the tablet. You live in South Africa. Okay?
Go get sun.
Just go out and get sun. Don't go to the club or to the bar or whatever. Go out somewhere where there's sun. Take
Fresh
a hike.
air.
It's for depression in particular, it is known to be so good to counteract the symptoms of depression. Get out of your head. Get out of your head. Go out and see some people. A break. A break depends now. It depends what the break seems like to you. I've had burnouts that needed me to sleep for a month. But I have burnouts that are fine if I just sleep for a weekend. You're going to have to figure out for yourself, but getting rest is key. I'm not saying get off of work. So what I've currently done is that I break down my to-do list, and I've actually said to my team, I'm going to be working slowly for the next few days. So what I would push out quickly, I'm now going to push out slower because I can feel I need rest in between the days. And I think you also can figure out for yourself what you can do to stay productive while resting. You can do that. It is possible in the build-up to I can only get a holiday on Christmas. The other thing, and this is the last thing that I'm going to talk about, guys, our families make us anxious for festive season. December, New Year, So many people are afraid to be like, hey, I won't see the family this year because I know that they will add to my mental health issues. I feel that guilt should rather be moved to understanding that going to a place that's going to cause you extra anxiety when you're burnt out might lead you down a very dark path. I'm not saying people shouldn't see their families, but there are family members, them, that you can avoid, who are not adding value, who are not kind, who are not good for you. For me, having done that through the years has made a big difference to how I can celebrate Christmas, who comes and who doesn't. Be careful about the family members who are in your life right now that you feel you have to see. You don't have to see them.
On that note,
you really don't.
Definitely, I'm going to take that little bit of advice. I think Kopano brings up 5 points, and really from the 5, all 5 are easily implementable with just a little bit of conscious thinking, and speaks to a variety of things: self-love, setting boundaries, etc. Also, as you said, name a thing in order for you to be able to deal with what the thing is. Let's wrap it up there for today, but I think we won't impose on you now because we know you're on Christmas break, but I know that you'll be visiting us at some point again during the course of next year. From myself and my team, and of course my guest in studio, Kopano Cohen, thank you so much for choosing to spend your afternoons with us. Aldrin Sampier and his team are standing by and ready to take over. They're going to see you through for the rest of the afternoon at 3 until 6 o'clock. Lots on the agenda, and I get the feeling that a lot of us are going to be trying to understand the impact of that Constitution judgment that has just come in regarding independent candidates for the 2024 votes. A lot was hinging on that particular judgment, and of course they brought it in just in time. Inshallah, God willing, we get to do it again tomorrow. Have a good one.
Can you open your heart right now? Can you let your love shine today? Can you reach out your hand, my friend? Can you lend a helping hand? Tell me, could this be the day that you and I change the world? 'Cause hey, 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 the time is right now. You and I can bring a new day. Hey, 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 it's alright now. It begins with you and I. Hey, 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 my Africa, Bamba Nani, Sizo Moba. Hey, 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 Sizo Waka, Mina Nawe, Sizo Moba. What if we opened our minds right now? Could we truly realize we have that power within our hands? You and I can make that change for a new world we've never been. Yes, it's that place we all long to be.
Here, there, and everywhere. SAFM 105.3 FM in Uppington.
Outsurance will go out of their way to try and save you money on your car insurance. If they can't, ask for 500 Rand. SMS out to 38462. Now that's good news.
Independent and impartial. This is SAFM News.
Top stories this hour. Transnet calls for private sector assistance over the Durban port's challenges, and heavy rains lead to flooding in India. Good afternoon. Transnet National Port Authority, TNPA, has called for a request from the private sector for the expansion of the Durban Port's container terminal. The authority's top management announced at a media briefing that the project is pivotal in unlocking 14 other mega projects in the port over the next 15 years. It says a container pier will be lengthened and the port deepened to accommodate bigger vessels. The authority's director of mega projects, Dr. Bridget Masinga, says tenders were issued in 2016 and 2020, but both times it could not go ahead due to administrative reasons.
There is no better time for us to do this massive work than the present. And more so when you look at the economy that is currently sluggish, it is strategically important that we had to move with speed to implement this particular project because of potential disruptions if this construction were to coincide with the time at which the country will be in a